Well, a good day to you wherever you happen to be, whatever you happen to be doing. We appreciate you fitting in a little bit of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. Hopefully you can stay for the whole show. We realize, though, days get busy, so we just are grateful that you've carved out some time to join us here as we begin to get set with our Thursday broadcast. We are live today. I am Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. Hey, Deb.
Hello, Jerry. Well, we have a very interesting topic today, a question we're asking our Take Two family. Are you ready for this, guys? Have you ever had a lengthy hospital stay? Have you ever been in the hospital for like a week, 2 weeks, a month, something of that nature, and then transferred to rehab, something like that? Right, Jerry? Something just like that happened to you a couple months ago? Have you ever had a lengthy hospital stay? We'd like to know. You don't have to be Catholic to call in. We'd like to know what it felt like, what you learned, how you coped. Were you visited by a priest or a chaplain? All the details of that to give us a better understanding of what it's like to be in the hospital for a long time. Did you feel disconnected from society? Here's the number, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986.
Yeah, and Debbie made reference to my recent hospital stay. In case you aren't aware of that, I had a back surgery back on December 9th and was discharged from the hospital on January 10th. So it caused me to miss my finals here at the seminary first semester. I'm making those up during this semester. But for all of my life, Debbie, that was something, it always happens to somebody else. This is one of those things that, you hear about your friends, maybe a family member or something who has to go in the hospital and spend a good amount of time there. But when it happens to you, you really get kind of that firsthand, up close and personal experience of what it's like. So would love to hear about you. Again, you don't have to go into all the details of, why you were in the hospital or whatever, but just like Debbie said, sort of the circumstances of it. Did you have people come and visit you? I had a lot of people from the seminary come and visit me, and it was an eye-opening experience. And as I look back on it, it seemed to go by rather quickly. It was a graced period of time for me. So Take Two family, what about you? Or was there somebody that who spent a good amount of time in the hospital? We can talk about that as well, because this is something, like I said, that it's gonna impact you. It's gonna touch on your life in one way or another, whether it's you personally who go through this or someone that you know and love. So here's the phone number, 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
Well, we have the show team in place. Matt is on the phones today. Michael's at the controls, and Rich is monitoring social media. So if you would like to add your comments there, please do so. Don't forget to like us on Jerry and Debbie Facebook page. And don't forget to pick up a free consultation at standtalltoday.com. If you'd like to see some of our newest coaches that just joined the Stand Tall ministry, one of them being Dr. David Anders. We're so excited about that. So some cool things happening around the Take Two family, but we'd like you to weigh in on this topic. It's very important. Now, maybe you're a nurse, or you work in the hospital, or you're a doctor, and could you tell us what it's like or what you do when you know that somebody's going to be in the hospital more than 2 or 3 days? Do you change the way you care for them? Do you visit them more often? Do you spend a little time chit-chatting with them because you know that they are pretty much stuck in the hospital for a week or 2 weeks and trying to recover? So maybe we can come at it from that angle as well, Jerry.
Yeah, and a lot of different perspectives we can take on this. Maybe you just want to talk about what the routine was like. You wanted to try to get a little bit of rest, and yet the hospital staff, they need to come in and check your vitals every few hours and give you medications and do these tests and blood work and all kinds of stuff. So we're talking today about if you have had any kind of any sort of duration of time that you spent hospitalized. 833-288-3986. Again, you don't have to go into all the details. That's no problem there. But just what the whole experience was like. Did it change you? I really believe, Debbie, that coming out of that month-long stay in the hospital, it changed me in a lot of ways. It made me certainly. I was always hopefully empathetic toward people who were ill or hospitalized or anything like that. But definitely grew in my empathy and compassion, and also just in my appreciation as well. Maybe that's something, folks, that you want to express, your appreciation for the medical teams that assisted you. Hopefully, God willing, brought you back to good health. So, a lot of ways we can come at this today at 833-288-3986.
Speaking of that, it's interesting. If you look at the flip side of this discussion, and that is that when you go into the hospital, like for instance, if you're having a baby, right? Nowadays, I understand, and it was that way when I was having my two children 28 and 35 years ago, they kind of rushed you out of the hospital. Here you go and give birth, and, you're just getting used to everything. And then they're like, okay, you're healthy. Here's your baby. Go. And you're like, can I stay a little bit longer? Maybe have one more meal? Can I get a little rest? Could somebody watch my newborn? It was kind of interesting, but I loved the nurses. Oh my goodness. They were so great when you were having children and but that was a quick hospital stay for so many of us. And so there's that too, where they can kind of rush you out of the hospital. But they say that's a good thing when they, want to discharge you early, right, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I mean, things have changed quite a bit in a lot of ways in terms of rehab and recovery. You go in for knee replacements, hip replacements. They tell you, within hours, they say, get on your feet, get moving, get walking, things like that. So, modern, medicine has really come a long way. And so looking forward to your participation in this conversation today. Take Two Family. We already have Kathy and Megan on the lines being screened by Matt Gubensky, but a couple of lines are still open. So always the best time for you to call in is right now, the earliest part of the show, right at the beginning at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. And do not underestimate how you can impact people's lives. We have people, Debbie, who listen to the program who are in hospital rooms or, maybe undergoing some sort of, medical, health challenge, things like that. So you could really provide some inspiration, and encouragement for someone who might actually be going through that right now. So,
or again, if you're a chaplain too, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Love to hear from, if there are any chaplains, or maybe you're a lay person who, you volunteer and you go visit patients in the hospital. Interestingly enough, I did that for a few years, some years ago, and then I found myself on the receiving end of that care. So a lot of things, a lot of ways that we can look at this topic today. Have you had a lengthy hospital stay or anything related to that? 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Your calls are coming right up.
This is Cy Kellett. We're here to take your calls on apologetics and evangelization on Catholic Answers Live. Tonight, 6 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Life Issues with Brad Mattis, president of Life Issues Institute.
A Pennsylvania couple decided to adopt a little girl with Down syndrome. So overjoyed having her in the family, they adopted a second child with the condition. Another mother of a child with Down syndrome said, "We don't know what the future holds for Janae, but we will be right there every step of the way." Said just like any other parent, we don't know what the future holds with any of our kids. Acknowledge the differences between those with Down syndrome and not. Then concentrate on the many similarities. They far and away outnumber the differences. Being told your baby has Down syndrome may rock your world, but take a breath and reach out to parents who know. We can help with that. Visit lifeissues.org for free resources.
For more information, visit our website at lifeissues.org and stay informed, more informed than you've ever been.
We pray in this time of Lent in the words of St. Paul, that he who raised Jesus from the dead will give life to our own mortal bodies through his Spirit living in us.
EWTN, your Lenten companion.
Helping build strong Catholic families.
This is EWTN Radio.
We're asking the question today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Have you had a lengthy hospital stay? We'd love to hear your take on this. 833-288-EWTN. Again, that's 833-288-3986. And we will get to Kathy. Kathy's a first-time caller. Kathy, hold on. We just love to really turn our attention, especially when we have first-time callers that start the conversation. But we want to share this with our listeners. Forgiving as Unity with Christ by Dr. Robert Enright. Dr. Robert Enright, founder of the International Forgiveness Institute, invites you to travel with him down the road from alienation to forgiveness to possible reconciliation. His cathartic exercises will enliven your relationship with Jesus and provide a healing balm that will deepen your empathy and dispose you to forgiving others. Wow, this is powerful. And it says right here, these powerful exercises will help you understand what forgiveness actually is and why it is beneficial, including scientific studies of those who were suffering physically, psychologically, or emotionally and experienced healing. You will learn answers to soul-searching questions and discover how to embrace your littleness with the humility of a beloved child of God, and so many other things you're going to learn from this incredible work. And here's how you get it. Forgiving as Unity with Christ, A Journey for Healing Resentment and Relationships by Dr. Robert Enright. It's available now by Catholic. Shop EWTNRC.com. I got to get that book. That's excellent. Okay.
Sounds like it'll be a very impactful work indeed. All right, as promised, Kathy, a first-time caller, is in Minnesota listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
I thought of you when you said you had a lengthy stay from a back surgery.
Yeah.
And I was in for my third back surgery and thinking it won't be anything like my second, which was a back fusion, which was a big, big surgery. But I had, during surgery, they had an accident, and it ruptured my dura, and I didn't know what a dura even was. And that is the sheath that has the spinal and the cerebral fluid. So I was leaking that fluid, and I had to lay at 30 degrees, and it was for over a month, about 33 days. But in that time, I have to tell you, my room actually started to be the gathering spot with nurses, and my doctor even brought a couple other doctors in. And during that time, I never even turned on the television. I had a special time for prayer, and I thought it was so interesting that my chaplain that came to see me and bring communion, his story was that he was a janitor in the hospital, and he saw the reverence and the dedication of other chaplains from our Catholic faith, and he was Catholic, and he went deeper, and he became a deacon.
Oh, boy.
And I thought that was pretty amazing, but I did have a lot of time for prayer. Mm-hmm. I really did.
Absolutely.
So,
well, you're pointing at something. Yeah, Kathy, I think is very, very important here. And that's a good lesson for all of us. You know, when we have these seasons in our life, these periods, you know, like when we're, we wouldn't choose necessarily to be in the hospital for a length of time like that. But when we are, you know, we can turn that into a very holy, prayerful time. I definitely tried to do that. I've always said on this show, I don't suffer well, so I tried my very best to be a holy, godly witness to Jesus Christ. And I hope and pray that was the case, but it sounds like you did that too. And so as I look back on it, Kathy, I look at it like I was in there about, 30 days. You said you were 33 days. It's almost like a retreat. You know, you can turn it into a very spiritual experience. And it sounds like that's something that Kathy did, Debbie.
Absolutely. And when I hear you speak, Kathy and Jerry, you remind us about the just recently your hospital stay. It reminds me of Padre Pio. You know, that's one of the reasons he founded the hospital in San Giovanni Rotondo, is to make these places of suffering, places of healing and growth, places where they can bring forth transformations in all sorts of ways. So it doesn't have to be this really depressing thing that, oh, I'm going into the hospital and, oh, this is so horrible. There are beautiful spiritual things that can come out of it. And Kathy, that's what you're sharing today. And I'm glad you are. And I'm glad you're a first-time caller. And it sounds like you're doing well, though. Are you doing well with the back surgery?
I am doing. I'm actually facing a redo on my left shoulder, and I'm really praying about that. I am not on board with this. I had my shoulder redone just 8 years ago, and I thought it would definitely last longer. I'm 78, and I've had 21 surgeries in my life.
Ooh.
So I think one thing about when I laid for all those days, I never turned TV on, and I really didn't want a lot of company right then. I don't know. I think I was ready for just this time to set aside for prayer. But the biggest, hardest thing for me was, how am I going to have my hair shampooed? And I didn't like dry shampoo. I got over that, but I had to stay at that 30 degrees. Was able to be on the edge of the bed till the very last few days just to eat, and then had to lay. So anyway, that's my story. I'm anxious to hear what others say.
Beautiful, Kathy. Well, we do have a lot of people who want to weigh in. Lines are full right now. So God bless you, Kathy.
And I put Kathy. I know. Sorry, Jerry. I put Kathy in the prayer book. I brought out the prayer book. I knew Jerry was going to say we're going to pray for you, so I brought out the prayer book, Kathy. Okay.
Okay. Thank you much.
All right. Bless you, Kathy. Talking today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Have you ever had a lengthy hospital stay, or maybe you were, a visitor to someone who did, and you just felt like, God put it on your heart to befriend that person, or maybe it was a family member, and you were right there for them. 833-288-3986.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I did bring out the prayer book, so it is officially out. So because we're talking about, I should have realized that we're talking about hospital stays, so folks may need prayers. Okay, another first-time caller from Normal, Illinois on our friends at Catholic Spirit Radio. Megan is calling. Hello, Megan. Welcome.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you so much.
Good. Thanks for taking the call. Sure. Not me, but our son, Liam, who he was diagnosed in 24 in September, actually on Bishop Fulton Sheen's when he passed. He was diagnosed September 5th, 2024, with acute T-cell lymphoblastic lymphoma.
Oh, no.
And this was a healthy 16-year-old young man who was playing golf, flying planes, going to school, living in life. No idea he had any problems, and just wasn't feeling 100% and got, kind of a cold and went in, and, you kind of think, we'll go get a second opinion when you're faced with, basically the kid's kind of loaded with cancer. And we were blessed. We live in Normal, Illinois. We were blessed to be sent out to Peoria, Illinois, which holds St. Jude's affiliate. And my, need to call today was to give props to the doctors, nurses, people who have given to St. Jude in the past. It is real. It is everything that they say that they provide for families, they do, and for the kids. His cancer statistics from 20 years ago, I think the survival rate was maybe 60% for his type of cancer, and that's a maybe. It might have been lower than that. Now it's at 80%, if not higher. He's doing wonderfully. He is done with treatment January 10th of 2026. And he says that he will never be the same person. It's changed his life. He looks at life differently. He, he was a good kid before, ornery. He's still ornery, but good kid, but definitely views life differently. And doesn't take things for granted, doesn't worry about, I think a lot of small things that other people might. My husband and I we've just been blessed by so many people praying. Our church praying, the seminarians that, he had been involved with a program through our diocese called Emmaus Days, and so they got to know the seminarians. The seminarians came out to visit him on numerous occasions from the Peoria Diocese, and priests, and also we're in a Catholic hospital over there at St. Francis, which we had access to a chapel. And not to say that, but even just people, his nurses, he wouldn't. I don't think he would have mentally survived had he not had people come alongside him that could either kick him in the rear along, pick it up, keep going. You're gonna, have a bad attitude about this, or pray and encourage. And so we're radically grateful for what we've been given, and also just wanted to give, thanks to the folks at St. Jude.
Beautiful, beautiful. Megan, I put Liam, of course, in the prayer book. So I do have the prayer book out. So we put Liam in the book. And you said that he has had exposure to, a lot of things Catholic, the seminarians and things like that. Is he possibly talking about, just out of curiosity, discerning any type of vocation? The reason why I say that is typically, if you look at a lot of priests, they have come from very difficult situations in their childhood. If it was by accident or if something like medical, it's very interesting. If you ask about the history or the childhood of a priest,
always open. Right now, I'm going to tell you, Debbie, he wants to fly airplanes.
Well, maybe he'll be a priest that flies airplanes. There you go.
That's what I said. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't know what God's plan is for him.
Maybe he can fly the Pope around. How's that?
That would be a great honor and privilege.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, that's cool. And Jerry, you share that with Liam. You love flying planes.
I actually took flying lessons, Megan, some years ago. I haven't finished that yet, but I was just going to kind of half jokingly say a lot of dioceses in Alaska are looking for seminarians and priests who can fly, because they they have to take planes to get to some of the more remote areas. But I would just say, Megan, thank you for sharing this. Your son Liam, he has attained a level of wisdom and maturity, excuse me, that sometimes it takes until far later, in life to attain. And so it sounds like he has really used this situation, this adversity, to really come out in a much stronger place. So you've got to be super proud of him for that.
Mm-hmm. We are. And we subscribe and are very in tune with Alaska and the priests there. And they put out the Good Shepherd. So it's funny that you mentioned them, because I look through their newsletter and I'm like, interesting. And it's kind of his lifestyle. He's kind of he just marches to his own drum, and it will be interesting. I thought, he could very easily live the life of an Alaskan priest. So who knows?
Wow. That's pretty cool. All right, Megan, thank you so much. Call us again, please. We hope you found it an enjoyable experience, your first time calling, and you're listening to a great affiliate there, Catholic Spirit Radio. I'm going to be hosting you guys' pledge drive in right after Easter. So, Megan, God bless you. Thank you so much. Jerry, let's say hi to Sister Cheryl, shall we?
Yeah. Sister Cheryl in Phoenix, watching the video on YouTube, waving to you, Cheryl, and all of those of you watching the video stream on YouTube and Facebook. Hello.
Hello, Jerry. How you doing?
Doing okay today. A little bit better each day, God willing. That's the idea, Cheryl. How are you doing?
Somewhat sad and hurt. On your last call that you just spoke to Megan about the Children's St. Jude's Hospital, I've been working with them for 5 years. And a lot of the children, they go through the laminar flow unit, they go through the chemotherapy, they go through everything. And some of the bone marrow transplants that they go through, well, one little girl, her remission was only temporary, and she was only 9 years old and she passed away. Some of the children there, they don't make it through all that, and they have a lengthy hospital stay. So we end up praying for them, and a lot of the parents are so sad knowing that they have to go home to Jesus and everything. So we try to comfort them the best way we can. So it's a very lengthy hospital stay, what they have to go through, everything.
Well, Cheryl, what you're doing there, and you and the others, God bless you for that. You're providing a lot of comfort and consolation. Like you said, we hope and pray that all of the young kids that would go through a facility such as St. Jude Children's Hospital would, come out with a bright future and hopefully either healed or in remission or what have you. But the reality of it is that sometimes, God, heaven can't wait to have some of these beautiful, precious little angels up there and with them. So, what you're doing is providing a great bit of consolation and comfort, I'm sure, for Debbie, for a lot of the family members. And they really need that at a time like that.
Yeah, and more community support like you're doing, Cheryl, and in your team. And I think it's wonderful when we can get involved. It's so interesting that you're saying this because there's a St. Jude, kind of a satellite wing of the hospital right around the corner from my house, and they're asking for cuddlers for newborns. Mm-hmm. In the NICU. And it's really interesting. And so they're asking for people to step up and really be a part to help others and have them, so you can journey with them. Cheryl, thank you so much. God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of your day in Phoenix, Arizona. And we come back, more of your calls. If you've had a lengthy hospital stay, please join us.
Hi, this is Father Mike Schmitz. Please join me for Ascension's Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year here on EWTN Radio. We're going through the entire Bible and the Catechism in 365 days. If you've ever wanted to understand what it means to be Catholic and allow those truths to shape your life, this is for you.
Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on EWTN Radio.
Have you ever noticed that most people think that rules apply to others but not to themselves? They always consider themselves to be the exceptions. What ends up happening, however, is that everybody is exceptional so that the rules don't apply to anybody. The result is something worse than chaos. It's a loss of all the categories of respect and justice. G.K. Chesterton says that when the exception has become the rule, that is the worst of all possible tyrannies. When the cardinal formerly known as Ratzinger gave his final homily before the papal conclave, he said, "We are living under the tyranny of relativism." What is relativism? It's when there are no rules, only exceptions. The man who was about to become pope was echoing Chesterton exactly.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information and go to EWTNRC.com to discover more books and programs written and inspired by G.K. Chesterton.
Hi, I'm Marcus Peter.
This is Father Mitch Pacwa.
This is Anna Mitchell from the Sunrise Morning Show.
This is John Mark Grodi. The most trusted Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders from Call to Communion. We want to know what's stopping you from becoming Catholic. Coming up at 2 p.m. Eastern. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Great to have you with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. It is your show. You're doing a great job coming through today with your calls, your lived experiences about a hospital stay. This topic was inspired by my own 30-day hospital stay back in December and early January. So have you had that experience? What was that like for you, to receive the care? Did you have visitors? Did you not have visitors? I mean, I spent Christmas Day flat on my back in a hospital bed all by myself. Nobody came to see me or anything, and that was just fun. Well, I don't say that to get sympathy, because everybody on Christmas Day, I had people from the seminary and everybody come visit me a lot, but everybody's busy on Christmas Day, and I understood that. And so I just made it a real prayerful experience, really tried to enter into, as deeply as I could, the nativity of the Lord. And it was really a grace-filled, a blessed experience that day and, all of those days that I was in the hospital. So Take Two family, you got to take this one away and let us know what your experience was like, whether it was you personally or someone that you know who had a lengthy hospital stay. 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. And if you're listening in Michigan, your EWTN radio station needs to hear from you next week. Holy Family Radio, they have 4 stations in Michigan. They'll be airing their spring drive starting Monday. So if you're listening in Grand Rapids, Battle Creek, Vicksburg, or anywhere, please be sure and support your local Catholic radio station, because without the stations, the programming has no place to go and you wouldn't be hearing it. So Please be generous with your time, talent, and treasure to your local Catholic radio station.
And right now, Catholic Radio Network out of Kansas, Missouri, Wyoming, Colorado is finishing up their 5-day drive. Will end tomorrow. 5 days. We've been going strong. So lots of spring pledge drives are happening around the country. So when you please give generously and please remember EWTN as well. What I just wanted to say real quickly is we're getting a lot of the Take Two family members that really want to weigh in by text. And it's so easy. So we're getting a lot of texting lately, and I love that. You can always text the letters EWTN to 58177. You wait for our response. Then you text us your first name, and you can ask a question or you can make a comment, and just know that message and data rates may apply. Please, we love the texting because we get some great information there for the discussion and the conversations that we have on these live episodes. Plus on social media, Jerry, please wave to everybody. The chats are going strong on YouTube and Facebook and the other social media streams. Thank you. Thank you. But if you've had a lengthy hospital stay or you work in a hospital, you want to make a comment about being in a hospital, please, now is the time. You still have plenty of time to call in, but don't wait any longer. Okay, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. And just a quick shout out to Laura from North Carolina. You were already screened and going to be on air with us, and you dropped off. So if you want to call back, Laura, just tell Matt you're calling back, and he'll inch you up to the front of the line.
Yeah, and right before we go back to the calls, I just want to mention one thing that was very touching for me. I know that I'm in the Boston area going to the seminary, and even though this part of the country is, maybe not as, at one point it was far more maybe Catholic or Catholic conscious or whatever than it is now. I think there's still ingrained in the people of this area very deep respect for the church, and I guess they must have known I was from the seminary. I think they equated that with being a priest, because the first week or two that I was in the hospital, just about every care person that came into the room to do a test or whatever would always, Father, hello, Father, can we, I just want to bother you. Sorry to bother you, but we need to do this, and I just had to explain to them that,
you weren't a father yet.
Not yet, no, a father, an expectant father, perhaps.
Yeah, a father in training. Yeah,
father in training. Yeah. So it was really beautiful, though, and I, like I said earlier to one of our callers, I really tried to be that good witness for Christ, and that's the thing about it, Debbie, is we can be in the hospital going through something very, very serious, very, very difficult, but at the same time, we can be an instrument of God's grace and His love and mercy going in the other direction as well. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. I spoke to you a few times when you were in the hospital. You were pretty chill. You were in good spirits.
Oh, well. Good. Glad you think so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's hear what Carolyn has to say in Louisiana, listening on the EWTN app. Carolyn, thank you so much, and welcome to the program.
Oh, hello. Do I need to mute the phone or anything? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you just fine. It sounds great. So go right ahead, Carolyn.
Well, my twin brother Charles was back some years ago. Well, it turned out to be a ruptured appendix, but he had a different diagnosis. They couldn't tell, and he couldn't talk. To say he was so miserable and non-cooperative kind of. Not. And he had mental illness too. But anyway, I was there every night. I'd go. I would be with him in the day and go back home and then come back, but I'd sleep on the cot nearby, right there. And one night, he had a big bowel movement, and the attendants came, and they were such angels. It was, they were just singing and praising, or, it just woke me up, and, they're coming, but, it was, wow, it was just a beautiful moment, a moment of time. It was, lasted a little while, but they were just, had a good attitude about their job,
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 women, they just, oh, wow. And then, so that was just a wonderful insight to me, about that, and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we were all praying for Charles, but he anyway. So, and his middle name was Gerard. So my mother had really prayed for us to be born right. We were born a month early. We had to be induced. So, but anyway, it was a wonderful time. I mean, it turned out to have good moments.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting,
yeah.
Carolyn. Yeah, my mother for years couldn't have children, so she prayed a lot to Saint Gerard. So that's why I was named Gerard. I was the first boy after my sister was born. But I think you're describing, a beautiful reality about those who provide health care. It takes a very special, a disposition, personality. I don't know I don't really know how to describe it, but I mean, I would have trouble even just poking somebody to draw blood, let alone cutting somebody open and doing surgery and all of that stuff. So I guess different people have different gifts, but those who have these gifts, Debbie and Carolyn, are very, very special people, I think, in the eyes of God.
Well, and I think Carolyn's tapping into something. That's why I've said this for many years, Jerry. You've heard me on Take Two. I believe that nurses, I think they're going to get a high place in heaven. The nurses that really go into it for the right reasons and have that outlook and disposition and attitude that you're talking about, Carolyn, where they go into a really difficult situation, or it's something that's uncomfortable, or quite frankly, it could be just, something that's messy. And they walk in and it's like a breath of fresh air comes into the room, and they just have a bright and shining attitude, and they just make things that can be very heavy seem like you can get through it. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a gift that they have, I believe, from God. And when they use it in that beautiful, genuine way, it shines. Carolyn, you tapped into that for sure. And thank you so much for weighing in on this topic today. We appreciate it. Laura has called back from North Carolina. Thank you. Wilmington Catholic Radio is the way Laura's listening. Laura, we always get a smile on our faces when we ask somebody to call back, and they do. And you did. So thank you. Welcome.
No problem.
Go right ahead.
So I wanted to tell you that I gave birth to my daughter in a German hospital. I was active duty Army, and it was in 1993. And back then, and I'm pretty sure it's still that way in Germany, the standard is 5 days. And honestly, I needed the whole 5 days because I had a difficult birth, and, it was really lovely. I wish the U.S. would do that, but I know insurance companies restrict it. And my daughter actually got jaundice, so, I don't think that would have been discovered had I been discharged earlier. And I really, the doctors, everybody were so kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you make a really good point, and I agree with you. I wish the U.S. would allow a little bit longer for those that are, especially brand new moms, because my son had jaundice too, and I was home when it happened, and I was panicked. Thank goodness my dad was a Navy medic, and so he knew right away what to do and who to call, and so he was there. My mom and dad were with me, but it was so interesting to me because they quickly pushed us. If you were healthy and the baby's, healthy, they're like, okay, here's all the stuff you need, here's a couple diapers and a few fun things, and you're be on your way. And no manual with that newborn either, right, Laura?
Yes, and my son was born in the United States, and so it was 2 days, and thankfully it was an easy delivery, and I kind of wanted to get home for my older daughter and whatnot, but still, I just, it's an exhausting thing to give birth. And so for me, I, especially the first time, needed the extra time.
Yeah.
But you can't or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I actually cried, Jerry, when I left it the first time. I was holding on to the nurses saying, can't you just come home with me? Because I don't know if you know this, but you don't get like a parenting manual or anything. It's like they give you this adorable little baby, and you're on your way. They do make sure you have a car seat, though. Thanks, Laura. God bless you. Thanks for calling back. That was really sweet.
Excellent.
We have full phone lines again.
We do. Well, that's the Take Two way. Take Two family, you are amazing. We're talking today about, have you had a lengthy hospital stay, or maybe know someone who did, or checked in on someone who was in the hospital for a period of time, 833-288-3986. Let's go to Peoria, Illinois. We heard from Normal, Illinois. Now Peoria. Amanda listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Amanda.
Hi. Yeah.
Welcome. Go
Can
right
you hear
ahead.
me? Sorry.
Yep, just fine.
Okay. Yeah, so I was calling. I actually wanted to call. I wasn't able to get it on that day you guys talked about men that are like St. Joseph in your life. And the person that I'm calling about the hospital, it kind of all intertwines together. But my dad's a very, very holy, humble man. He's a dentist, and he, it's always been a big running joke. You find the junkiest car in the Total Dental Care parking lot, and that is Dr. Dickey's car. He, wears like tattered sweatshirts, has 2 pairs of jeans to his name, just very, very humble, all about everyone else. He's in very good shape, has always been very healthy, never really been overweight in his life at all. And he was having some breathing issues from his asthma, and just nothing was doing it, no inhalers or anything. So they were like, let's do a CT with contrast. So they did a CT with contrast, and they realized his lungs are fine, but they're like, there's something with your heart. And so he actually saw a cardiologist one Monday. They were going to do an angiogram that Thursday, but he didn't want to wait, and he had a massive, massive heart attack that Wednesday. Pretty much you have like 2 main arteries, or like a left one and a right one, and his left one was 100% occluded, so 100% blocked. And he really should have passed away like 5 o'clock that morning, but he went the entire day with only heartburn, which he always has heartburn. He's always struggled with reflux and stomach issues, and so the only reason he even went into the ER was because he had that CT scan and found out something was wrong with his heart, because otherwise, I mean, everything was good. His cholesterol, his triglycerides, he actually has low sodium. So it's all genetics, but I just remember the surgeon coming in and being like, or the guy that did the stent, and he was just like, God has some special plans for this man, because I have never seen anything like it. And the guy's newer here from UCLA, and he was just like, he is a miracle and should not be alive. And all the nurses from the cath lab were coming back and telling us how incredible this is. The only reason he lived is because his right artery is abnormally large, very slightly, and the right artery wrapped around the bottom of his heart and kept it beating all day. So that's the only reason he is even alive. And, yeah, it was kind of crazy when we found out there was something wrong with my dad's heart. We had recently learned about the Holy Face devotion, and so my husband and I were doing a Holy Face novena, and it ended on the day that he had this heart attack. And our intention was that God would give my dad a miracle for his heart, so that, he can go on with his life and have a beautiful retirement one day with my mom. And it felt like such an answer to prayer, and like the right doctor was there that night. He left to go on vacation, right after he saw my dad that evening. He was just in the most perfect of perfect hands. And, most of his family, they're all like atheist and agnostic, and my dad's like the only one really in his family that's very devoted to his faith. And so I just told my dad, you are planting seeds for people through this. And, how you're handling it. And, it's a very miraculous story, really and truly. There's so much that goes into this.
Wow. That is an amazing story, Amanda, and you're so right. The providence of God, it's usually, looking backward that we can see the hand of God in certain, situations. Like even in my own situation, I had an MRI done on my lower back, nothing really abnormal or whatever. I was hoping to maybe just to get a cortisone shot and move on with life. And then when I went to the emergency room, they did another MRI, this time with contrast, and they found the infection at the base of my spine, and the surgery was needed and all of that. So, I'm grateful too, for all of the beautiful, men and women who provide that care, provide that solicitousness. And you're right, we always talk a lot on this program. Debbie and I are huge on this, about God's purpose, God's plan. And it sounds like this very, simple, humble, wonderful dad of yours still has some things to not only for him to experience in life, but for God to work in and through him, like you said. Hopefully, I'm sure, Debbie, there's no doubt that his accepting this health situation and allowing it to, it's God is going to work grace in and through him to, his family members who may not, be that close to God at this point in time.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so interesting, Amanda, as you were sharing this story about your dad, I was just thinking, we never, sometimes we don't know why, we don't even know how, we don't know what the outcome's going to be. But it's so interesting how God is really working things, for the good, for our good. And it's, if we just cooperate and really appreciate and experience everything that we go through, and it is miraculous. It's amazing, how things turn out. And then we look back and we say, there was a reason, there was a purpose. Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your story today, or your dad's story today. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to go, you know what, Jerry, before we go to Trish, we have a special Lenten reflection.
We do, yeah. It's a Lenten Reflections from the Basilica of Our Lady of Walsingham in Norfolk, England. Father Stephen Morrison shares the theme of the second week of Lent, our Lord's Transfiguration, as transformation of Christ, excuse me, and of his promise to transform society and bring the world back to himself. We know that Jesus is the light of the world, the true wisdom enlightening the world, and source of the graces received in the sacraments of penance and Holy Communion, so beneficial to the salvation of humanity. So be sure you tune in for Lenten Reflections from the Basilica of Our Lady of Walsingham in Norfolk, England, Sunday morning, 6 a.m. and Sunday evenings, 5:30. Those are Eastern times right here on EWTN Radio.
Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Trish is waiting so patiently in Buffalo, New York on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Trish. Welcome.
Hi. I don't know how I can follow Amanda's story. I have a similar story for my dad. He very quickly, he had the similar thing happen, that he had what they call the widowmaker type of heart attack. And if he wouldn't have, he was downtown near the hospital because he was a police officer, and he went in the work that morning and said, I think I'm having a heart attack, and drove himself to the hospital, and he lived.
Wow.
So there you go. And if he would have been home 20 minutes away, then he wouldn't have made it.
Right.
So that was crazy. But anyway, I called because I have 4 children, and I've had lengthy hospital stays with all of them, and 2 of my children were 35-week babies, my number 2 and my number 4, and my number 4 is 2 now. So it was pretty recently that she was in the NICU, and they were both in the NICU for 2 weeks. So when I had all of them, so my first, I was in the hospital for a week because I was induced, and it didn't work. And then I ended up there. So, I was there for 6 days, actually, with him. And then my second was 35 weeks, so I was in for 6 days. I was in for 6 days for him. And he was in the NICU, and I had to leave him there, which was awful. And he was in the NICU for 2 weeks. And then my third baby, she was actually only there. She's actually turning 5 next week. And I was only in the hospital for 4 days with her, but she was in the NICU for 2 days. And then my 2-year-old was in the NICU for 2 weeks, and I was in for 5 days.
So let me ask you a question, Trish. Let me ask you this: that you have had quite a lot of experience in this area here of being having to, especially leaving the newborn and having to go home and leaving your child in the NICU. So I shared. I don't know if you caught this when you were talking to Matt, but they put an ad in the news in our area where I live that they're looking for cuddlers to go for 4 hours for training to go to the NICU to hold the babies. Now want to ask you. I want to ask you this question. Be really honest with me. Would you have felt comfortable of a stranger holding your newborn for 4 hours?
Yes, probably. Only because now I don't think, like, the NICU nurses that I had were absolutely wonderful. I would not say anything. I would never say anything bad. But you think that when you leave the NICU, they're not manned. The NICU, like, they usually have a nurse a room, but the nurses don't sit in there all day.
Right.
You know, they're outside the room on the computer or whatever. Like, you know, they have to get their work done, whatever.
Right.
I think that I would have preferred that somebody was sitting with the baby when I wasn't able to. And especially, like, my first NICU baby, you know, he was my second, so I had another little baby at home, and he was not even 2 yet, and I couldn't. I left, and I stayed there as much as I could. I usually was there during the day, so I left in the morning, and I would be there for 3 feedings a day because I was breastfeeding. And then I would have to leave overnight. And that, I think, I would prefer to have someone there 24/7.
Okay.
Because I don't think that they consciously know, but I do think that they kind of know when there's no one there. And that's probably what made me the most upset.
Sure.
Is that I'm like, well, I just had this baby and I had to leave my little baby in there. And, like, I think especially with my 2-year-old now, when she was born, I was really frustrated that I wasn't with her and that my other kids needed me. And I even tried to, like, I almost stayed overnight there myself and left my other kids, and I felt really bad, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of emotions. I would prefer that someone was with them all the time, I guess is what I would say.
Good.
Not
Well,
that the nurses aren't.
Right.
but-
I get it, because they have their duties they got to attend to. They can't just sit there for 4 hours and rock a baby. But that, you know, you convinced me, because I you know where my mind is gone, Jerry. I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe if I volunteer, the parents won't even want a stranger holding their child. So that's but you're right, Trish. Just to have that the compassion and the care and just feeling that another person is holding the child, so that your child's not alone. Yeah, I would think that brings comfort. Thank you, Trish. You are awesome. What do you say, Jer?
Thomas, first-time caller in North Carolina. Thomas, we're going to give you about 30 seconds, but we see you have a prayer intention, so we wanted to get to you. Go ahead, Thomas.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds for you. We're going to end the show soon, but we wanted to get you in because of the nature of your call. So if you can share it with us in about 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm calling because I have a very close friend of almost 30 years who is currently in the hospital with some severe stomach issues. She's been in the hospital for about 3 days. And I'm just calling to see if you all would pray for her.
Absolutely. We put her in the book. Go to Padre Pio, especially with stomach issues, Thomas. So go to Padre Pio. All right, Jerry, I've got her in the book.
Amen. Glad we could get that in there, Thomas. Thanks for the call. The others on the line, we're just not going to be able to get to you today, but there is another Take Two with Jerry and Debbie coming your way tomorrow here on EWTN Radio. We'll be talking about keeping your weekends holy during Lent. Debbie, that'll be, I think, a very impactful conversation like it is every day.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that discussion tomorrow, but we want to thank today the wonderful show team, Rich and Matt and Michael, our producer. Thank you to all the affiliates that carry the show live. You're giving an opportunity for your listeners to weigh in on these very important topics that we can all relate to. So thanks to everyone. We love the Take Two family so very, very much. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.